To international headlines again, there is a shaky peace this morning between Israel and the Palestinian militant group Islamic Jihad. The latter has now declared a ceasefire, ending what has been a bloody 48 hours of fighting. And yet the ceasefire is already being put to the test. This is rocket fire coming out of Gaza right around the time the truce was called. The launch has triggered air raid sirens in southern Israel, sparked questions about how long the truce will last between the two sides. Freelance reporter Iris Mackler is in Jerusalem, and she has been covering this for us since the fighting broke out. What is the latest this morning, Iris?
We've seen more rounds of rocket fire coming across from Gaza. More sirens, more people, more on the Israeli side going down into bomb shelters, taking children out of schools, the schools that weren't closed. Now, for the past hour, I'd say, there's a tense quiet on both sides of the border, and we have yet to see if this ceasefire, there's been no confirmation of this ceasefire from Israel. We had a declaration from the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu when things began. We haven't heard from him. The most we've seen is a comment from an IDF spokesperson on Twitter saying this round is over. So it seems that both sides believe the round is over, and soon the people on the ground will see if that's right too. We heard from the spokesperson for Islamic Jihad, and he said in a statement from Gaza, he said that and I quote, that the Palestinian resistance had forced Israel to agree to its conditions. And one of those conditions, he says, is that Israel will halt what it calls targeted killings, the killings of militants. And it was such a targeted killing that began this 48 hours ago. But we've heard from Israeli officials, and I haven't heard confirmation that Israel has changed its policy on that.
Iris, the fighting has been to this point between Israel and Islamic Jihad, and there have been people watching very closely Hamas. It has stayed out of things so far, but is it looking at joining the fighting, or where is it standing at this point? Because obviously that would raise the concern of broader violence here.
That's right. Perhaps the most interesting thing about this conflict that we've seen, this 2 days of escalation, has been the fact that Hamas sat it out. They did release statements in support of Islamic Jihad, but no troops, no rockets, no actual support. And that was despite, another war going on Twitter. There was a lot of pressure on them, people on Twitter saying, Islamic Jihad supporters on Twitter, saying to Hamas, you're just cowards, you're running away, you're like rats running away, all of this kind of thing. But they didn't respond. So we do see for the first time, I think, a split in the militant groups, and that's a very interesting thing. We also see the rising power of Islamic Jihad, a more extreme group than Hamas, funded and backed by Iran. So that's significant too.
Iris, thank you very much. Appreciate that context. Iris Mackler in Jerusalem this morning.